The Coastal Salish are Native Americans located along the Puget Sound, which stretches from Washington State into British Columbia. Today, there are 19 different Puget Salish tribes that speak a common language, Lushootseed. 150 years ago, before the U.S. government treaties were signed, there were over 50 Coastal Salish tribes. Their society was comprised of three major classes: chiefs, commoners, and slaves, determined by a paternal line of descent. Men were primarily involved in woodworking, while basketry was the main industry for women. The Coastal Salish believed that supernatural spirits resided in animate and inanimate bodies and could be invoked to help the Salish people survive. Spirit powers were felt most strongly during Puget Salish ceremonial events, where music and dance played an important role, as well as storytelling, feasting, and gift-giving. All of the tribes lived near the water, which became their primary means of transportation, as well as provided their staple diet of salmon. They were also surrounded by vast forests and used cedar trees to make everything from houses and canoes to clothing and baskets. Edward Curtis was an esteemed ethnographer and photographer whose life work focused on the North American Indian between 1907 and 1930. Curtis followed many tribes from different areas, including the Sioux of the Plains region, the Apache of the Southwest, and the Duwamish of the Salish region. In fact, Curtis's first photo of a Native American was Princess Angeline of the Duwamish, a piece sponsored by the National Photographic Society. His work was little known when he died, and all but forgotten within a few more years, but popular culture rediscovered the marketable possibilities of Indians in the 1960s, and publishers of posters and calendars turned Curtis's photographs into icons. These photos have a distinct tone, and often evoke an impression of a timeless past in which these indigenous peoples had great freedom of movement and autonomy. Cedar played a prominent role in the spiritual beliefs of the Salish people. They believed that every tree had a spirit, a soul. When the Salish took bark from the trees for the purpose of basket weaving, they were sure that they did not take too much, so as to avoid causing harm to the spirits dwelling within. The coastal tribes believed in a supernatural spirit woman who lived deep in the forests and was able to make anybody into a master basket weaver. Baskets were incredibly important to the Indians of the Northwest Coast, and women would often perform rituals in which they fasted, bathed themselves, and walked off into the deep brush in search of the spirit. Many other women called upon her expertise by singing deeply spiritual songs to her as they weaved. Beyond baskets, cedar was used in many facets of Salish life, particularly in medicine. To treat chronic pain, healers would pass out yellow cedar leaves and instruct the afflicted to chew them. Many Salish people found relief from the pain in this, and the spiritual power of the cedar was known by all. The Coastal Salish people spent much of their time traveling by water. When Edward Curtis first described the culture of the Coastal Salish, he described their bodies as short, but usually robust and well-formed, as a result of long hours spent squatting in the bottom of a canoe. The lower leg is somewhat bowed, and to the same cause must be attributed the total want of gracefulness in their gait, which can be ascribed only as waddling. The Coastal Salish utilized western red cedar trees and mighty yellow cedar to create their canoes. The wood of the cedar is easily split and molded, yet strong and extremely rot-resistant. At the Burke Museum, historians create canoes with traditional tools in order to preserve an understanding of Salish culture. Due to the thick forests and dense underbrush of the Puget Sound region, it was necessary to travel via canoe from the summer fishing sites. Fishing was one of the most important pursuits of the coastal Salish, and men would often travel far upstream during winter to catch salmon. The waterways on which the coastal Salish traveled are the largest rivers of the area: the Stillaguamish, the Puyallup, the Nisqually, the Skokomish. These rivers are still named for and by the tribes of the area. This is the remaining legacy of the coastal Salish people.